Hi there, now we're going to do lesson 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. Notice giving and receiving are one. If I'm blessing you, it's because I'm blessing myself. No one can give unless he has. In fact, giving is proof of having. We have made this point before. What seems to make it hard to credit is not this. No one can doubt that you must first possess what you would give. Nobody can doubt that. It is the second phase on which the world and true perception differ. Having had and given, then the world asserts that you have lost what you possessed. So if I give it to you, the world says, I don't have it anymore. The truth maintains that giving will increase what you possess. So the more I give, truth says the more I give, the more it's going to increase. Because as I give it to you, I am creating room for more of God giving that to me, more of God's love, more of God's abundance, more of God's wellness, joy, peace to come through me. So as I give it to you, if I am whole and complete, I must remain whole. So by giving it to you, I cannot lose. That just gets filled up, filled up, filled up. It's a never-ending well. So paragraph 2, how is this possible? For it is sure that if you give a finite thing away, your body's eyes will not perceive it yours. So if I give you a piece of jewelry and I give it to you, then I don't have that piece of jewelry. Our body's eyes would perceive it that way. Yet we have learned that things but represent the thought that make them. So the piece of jewelry is nothing more than the thought that created a piece of jewelry. So if I focus on the piece of jewelry, I'm not focusing on the thought that can then think another piece of jewelry, that can then create something else. So we are focused on the finite of form, not remembering that we have the power of the mind of God that keeps creating. It doesn't end. Why? Because we're in the mind of God where everything is possible. And we're so focused on what we have and we don't want to lose it that we don't realize that it's our mind that creates infinitely forever. So you got to believe that what you give, you keep receiving, so that you keep the mind open to a continuous flow of creation. And you do not lack for proof that when you give ideas away, you strengthen them in your own mind. We don't lack for proof of that. Every single time that you say, I don't like you, you're strengthening that idea in your mind. Every time you say, oh, I love you, you strengthen that idea in your mind. Look at how often you strengthen ideas in your mind by thinking them again and again. Well, if you think you gave a piece of jewelry and you want to have more jewelry, just think, well, that was easy. I can make more jewelry. And strengthen the idea in your mind, because it's our thoughts that are powerful. We are ideas in the mind of God. We are thoughts in the mind of God. If God stops thinking us, we disappear. So if we're here, it's because God is thinking us. Well, the same way with the jewelry or anything you want, your wellness, your happiness, if you think you have it, you do. You do. Perhaps the form in which the thought seems to appear is changed in giving. Yet, it must return to him who gives. Nor can the form it takes be less acceptable. It must be more. Because as you give, as we are offering joy, we're feeling more joy. It's exciting. It feels peaceful. It feels wonderful. It feels loving. So everything that you're giving in thoughts or deeds or forms, you've got to acknowledge that it is by your thinking that it multiplies, that it will continue to be created. Just because somebody designs one building and creates a building, that they're not done with the building. They got more ideas for other buildings. When a singer sings a song, there's more songs to be sung. When a writer writes a poem or a book, there's more coming if you let yourself trust that there is more coming. Because once life finds a vessel, once God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, finds an open vessel, I allow it to flow through me, it's going to keep coming through me. These teachings that I began to teach 12 years ago, the wisdom in them, the knowledge, what I get to share, it just keeps multiplying. I only knew a little bit. I shared that, and then all of a sudden, God knew. Through this one, we can keep sharing information. How cool is that? I never doubt that I'm going to have the right thing to share, ever, 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 ever. Because I know without a doubt that I am to be a vessel for truth, and I expect it to be there, and it always is. I'm never at a loss for words. When I'm in a teaching situation, when I have students, because when those students are ready, the teacher appears, and the teacher is me opening up my mouth so that the holy teacher, the teacher of teachers, can use me and speak through me. I know that my thought of accepting that I trust God will always be there to share, that thought is what makes it so. All right, so paragraph 3, ideas must first belong to you before you give them. If you are to save the world, you first accept salvation for yourself. So I did the work for me, and I knew that I had accepted salvation. Then when I heard the guidance that I was supposed to share it, I just opened up my mouth because I trusted that salvation, the thing that needs to be said, is going to come through me. To learn that, it took a lot of challenges, because I was saying things that were not what my ego wanted me to say, or I was not saying things that were not what my ego wanted me to do. When I was in defenselessness, I had to pull back and not lash out. My ego wasn't happy with me when I wasn't proving how right I was. And when I would say things that were really kind at a time that my ego had me be really bitchy, I was like, oh my God, kind things just came out of my mouth. They're going to think I'm a, pushover. But I trusted that. And I felt the salvation, the peace of God in me. And guess what happened? More began to flow through me. That's how I ended up being a teacher. It's amazing. But paragraph 3, sentence number 3. But you will not believe that this is done until you see the miracles it brings to everyone you look upon. Yep, when I began to see the shifts in my family and my clients and people around me, that's when I knew this is working. Not only am I sharing what worked for me, but I'm watching it work for them. Dear God, multiply it. Use me. Let's multiply this. Why? Because I want to bless the world with what I've been blessed with. Herein is the idea of giving clarified and given meaning. Now you can perceive that by your giving is your store increased. More will flow through you. Paragraph 4, protect all things you value by the act of giving them away. And you are sure that you will never lose them. I give my love away all the time because I value love. I give my peace away all the time because I value peace. I give my joy, I give kindness, I give compliments because that's what I value. I give as much information about what God has done in my life because that's what I value. To me, that is what ultimately has value. Nothing in the world has value to me. Do I need a place to live? Do I need money? Yeah, those are things that I use in the world, but they don't have value. I'm not chasing any of those things. They do not have value for me because I value that God has my back. So I am trusting God will always have me in the right place at the right time with what it is that I need, and it has always happened that way. It's really remarkable. The only time that things dried up for me, that I wasn't receiving, is when I was married to Ken. Promised he was going to give me all of this, and then he began to take it away. Fear got activated, and in my fear, I blocked myself from receiving. I couldn't focus on my clients. I blocked myself from receiving. I couldn't focus on other things because I was so in fear and trying to protect what little bit I had. Oh, I can assure you, I know what I value, and it is my freedom from anything in the world. Because my safety lies in knowing that I'm inside of God. And if I am inside of God and God created me like itself, God is eternal, I'm eternal. So I am not concerned about what this world can give to me to sustain me. Because if this vessel goes, it goes. It doesn't matter. What I am never, ever leaves. I trust that. And because I trust that, God can use me. I am a vessel because I value love, joy, and peace. Love, joy, and peace keeps flowing through me because God knows I am not blocking it. Isn't that amazing? So what you thought you did not have is thereby proven yours. Yet value not its form. I don't value the form of love. I value love, the energy of love. For this will change and grow unrecognizable in time, however much you try to keep it safe. If you begin to value things, value Ken as my source of love, it will change and grow unrecognizable in time. Yes, the man literally physically began to change, but then the relationship changed. Then we were married, we were divorced, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, all those things began to change. and became unrecognizable in time. However much I tried to keep it safe, however much I tried to hold on to it, it kept changing and morphing and leaving. No form endures. It is the thought behind the form of things that lives unchangeable. The thought behind the form was that I loved that man dearly. And when I stopped trying to focus my love on that man and I began to focus that love on all of humanity, now I have another man that I get to enjoy life with, that I get to share my loving, joyful self with. But I don't love Dan more than I love Ken. I love them the same. I don't love Dan or Ken or my children differently. I don't love you any differently than I love them. I love everybody the same. There's just a purpose in that relationship because I can feel it from the Holy Spirit that that's the one I'm supposed to go dancing with and sleep with and make love with and hold hands with. That's the one that I feel guided to physically be connected to in this physical world, not because he's got love to give me, but because I have so much love to share and I get to have that experience that's an intimate experience with him. But the love that I have for my children and for Dan and for everybody is the exact same love. Why? Because there's only one love, and it's God's love. Period. Paragraph 5. Give gladly. You can only gain thereby. The thought remains and grows in strength as it is reinforced by giving. Thoughts extend as they are shared, for they cannot be lost. There is no giver and receiver in the sense the world conceives of them. There is a giver who retains another who will give as well. And both must gain in this exchange, for each will have the thought and form most helpful to him. What he seems to lose is always something he will value less than what will surely be returned to him. Never forget you give but to yourself. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. I do now that I look back and go, wow, I really thought that by the divorce I was losing something, that by my name not being in a checking account I was losing my wealth, that by being divorced I was somehow losing my ability to be in oneness, in connection, in companionship. Oh my gosh, now looking back, how silly. I can promise you that today, if I see that things are not working with me and another partner, me and another person, because that person, that being is blocking what it is that I'm attempting to offer, I can forgive them for not being able to receive. I've been in that place. I can appreciate their fears, but I will, with guidance of the Holy Spirit, do whatever is appropriate at the time. I may stay, I may go, but I'm going to be guided by the voice for love, because the voice for love knows everything that is happening. And I can assure you that I will be very quick to listen to that voice so I can respond appropriately in every moment. Never will I be clinging out of fear, because to cling out of fear is to really believe that I've sacrificed something. I can't do that anymore. It's not possible for me. My mind is too clear. I would really, that would be real insanity at this point. Sentence number 3 in paragraph 6, nor can he fail to recognize the many forms which sacrifice may take. He laughs as well at pain and loss, at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and death. This may sound callous to a lot of people who hear that. How can Jesus say to laugh at pain and loss and sickness and grief and death and poverty, salvation? When you know that they're not real, when you know that all of this is being acted out in the mind of God, we are safe inside of consciousness. This is all energy patterns acting out, either from love extending or from fear protecting. If there's death, if there's destruction, if there's starvation, it's because there are people on this planet that are not extending love, that are not giving lovingly. So when you begin to see that that is just how we are choosing to block the truth of who we are, we can begin to go, wow, this is really a divine comedy. It's insane that we're doing this to ourselves. That makes us want to begin more quickly to stop doing what we're doing. Why have the experience of starvation and pain and suffering when you can choose not to? by accepting who you are as God created you. Be the presence of love and do loving acts, do compassionate acts, do kind acts. Giving and receiving are one. If you give to that starving child, you're giving food to your soul. You're feeding yourself with the knowingness of the abundance of this universe, because every time you give, you know that you have more, you have access, because in wanting to share ideas of ways of helping people who will congregate with you to share, to make this world a better place, it will happen. Just as over the thousands of years, people who were fearful and angry and hateful congregated, so the light has shifted. There's a shift in the world where the light is increasing, and now people want to congregate to help. Why? Because it feels good. Once you begin to realize that that's who you are, it's what you want to extend, and so many of us are doing that everything is shifting. Dark is going to be receding, light is expanding, love is expanding, fear is receding. Now fear is going to still do what fear does, because it is a call for love, which gives the rest of us more opportunities to increase our light by continuing to love until fear disappears. So, paragraph 5. He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all, and in his gentle laughter are they healed. Do you realize that sacrifice is the ego's way of having you believe that to let go of your identity is a sacrifice, to let go of your money is a sacrifice, to let go of your relationship, of your status, of your job, of whatever is a sacrifice? Because the ego doesn't want you to believe, to know, to come to experience the wholeness, the strength, the wisdom, the abundance that is yours by your thinking it. If you believe you have it, you have it. I don't remember ever seeing a child 2-3 years old that was believing in scarcity, afraid that wasn't going to be taken care of. And I'm speaking in general. There are some children that are having the experience of not enough food. So yes, in some level, they are thinking scarcity because they don't know, they're in fear, they don't know where it's going to come. But I'm speaking in general. The average person, as a 2-3-year-old, knows that it is being taken care of. It doesn't have to go look for food, it comes to it. It doesn't have to go get a job to make money to buy its food. It comes to it. Whether the mother feeds it or it comes from, the food that the mother prepares, or the father or the grandmother or the teacher, or in school, or wherever it is that the food comes to them, there is a knowing that it is coming. And it's in this knowing that it is coming that we maintain the process of abundance going. But when we begin to get trained out of that belief, by the time we're 4, 5, 6, that we have to do something to get it, you got to study hard before you get the snack, you got to go to school before you get your food, then we begin to see that we got to do something to get it. That creates a mentality of lack. And now we believe that if we don't do this thing, we're sacrificing our health because we're going to go hungry. So our mind has been conditioned to believe things that are not true. When you can begin to see all of those things, you begin to laugh at them. Of course, you begin to go, my gosh, with gentle laughter. Wow, these people are suffering. They don't know that they can do it differently. So that's where compassion comes in, because I did that too. I believed in scarcity and I was trying to get to become somebody. So let me read that again. He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all, and in his gentle laughter are they healed. You're lacking nothing. Do not believe that by giving up your insane ideas, you are sacrificing anything. You're not. You're gaining everything, as a matter of fact, because God gave you everything. You just don't remember that it's yours because you're believing that it's not. Paragraph 7. Illusion recognized must disappear. Accept not suffering, and you remove the thought of suffering. If you don't believe in suffering, you cannot suffer. When the thought of suffering comes into your mind, say, I'm not believing that illusion. You train your mind to not think what is not true if you want to experience the peace of God. Your blessing lies on everyone who suffers when you choose to see all suffering as what it is. When you choose not to suffer, you become an example for others of the choice that you made to not believe those thoughts. And now you teach that by the shifting of your thoughts, you actually increase the thoughts of what you want to experience. Because giving and receiving are one. And you're giving what God wants you to receive, so no wonder it's multiplied. Paragraph 7, sentence 4, the thought of sacrifice gives rise to all the forms that suffering appears to take. And sacrifice is an idea so mad that sanity dismisses it at once. You become sane, you begin to think like the Creator thinks, that insanity begins to go away. If you know your energy, the idea that your matter goes away. If you know that you are eternal, the idea of temporary goes away. If you know that you are infinite energy, the idea that you're a body, the fears that you're a body go away. If you know that you're pure wellness, the idea of sickness goes away. If you know your love, fear cannot exist. It's that simple. And sacrifice is an idea so mad, insane, that sanity dismisses it at once by you choosing to believe it. Paragraph 8, never believe that you can sacrifice. There is no place for sacrifice in what has any value. If the thought occurs, its very presence proves that error has arisen and correction must be made. If you have a thought that goes against what God tells you is true, you just made an error. It needs correction. Forgive yourself for forgetting the truth and let that thought go. Let that thought go. Ask the Holy Spirit, go inside into the stillness. What would you have me think instead? What would you have me say instead? What would you have me do instead? Powerful, powerful, powerful. Your blessing will correct it. When you bless yourself, I bless myself enough to forgive myself for having made a mistake. Blessing is to love, is to extend compassion to yourself. Give first to you. Given first to you, it now is yours to give as well. I received salvation. I received compassion. I received the love of God. Therefore, this is why I give it. This is why I share it, by teaching it, by offering in any possible way that I can. Why? Because it saved me. I want you to experience salvation too, because my function is to save the world. And the best way that I can save it is through example of my peace and my love and my compassion and my joy, and which removes all judgments from you, or if you're willing, through my sharing what I've learned. No form of sacrifice and suffering can long endure before the face of one who has forgiven and has blessed himself. I love myself, truly love myself, for having had the courage to say no to my ego, for having had the courage to face my fears and say you cannot be real to me anymore, for having had the courage to accept that I was created holy, strong, and wise. I love myself for knowing my magnificence. I love myself because God created me as love. How can I not love what is love? That would be cray-cray. Paragraph 9. The lilies that your brother offers you are laid upon your altar, with the ones you offer him beside them. As I extend my love to you, your love comes right back to me. Who could fear to look upon such lovely holiness? The great illusion of the fear of God diminishes to nothingness before the purity that you will look on here. Be not afraid to look. Be not afraid to look at your perfection by looking at the perfection of your brothers and sisters. The blessedness you will behold will take away all thought of form and leave instead the perfect gift forever there, forever to increase, forever yours, forever given away. When I began to see in Ken his perfection, even though he continued to do whatever he was doing, I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on the Christ in him. I kept laying lilies on his altar. I kept loving him. I kept in my mind being very clear that he is the Son of God, that my salvation depended on me seeing him that way, because I could only see his salvation through the salvation in me. I could only see the Christ in him by the Christ in me seeing that. So what happened is that the form went away. He's not in my life. His money's not in my life. The lake house that we bought together is not in my life. All that form left, and it left instead the perfect gift forever, which is the love that I have for him. Forever to increase, because I got so much of it. I give it to lots of people. I give it to everybody. Forever mine, because I keep giving it away. How beautiful is that? Paragraph 10. Now are we one in thought, for fear has gone. And here before the altar to one God, one Father, one Creator, and one thought, capital T, God is a thought. We stand together as one Son of God. Why? Because God is the thought of love. The thought of love is the energy of love. Thoughts are energy. It's just movements of energy. When you begin to realize that we are all one, that all that is here is God, and God is love, love is all that is here. Not separate from Him who is our source, not distant from one brother who is part of our one self, whose innocence has joined us all as one. The innocence of Ken, it was my innocence. We stand in blessedness and give as we receive. When I felt God in me years ago, I felt such peace and such joy. And then my mind got distracted thinking Ken was somehow, here to add to me. I got all spiritualized. My ego was in the law of attraction. It was all about what was I going to get? What was I going to manifest? And I manifested something amazing because I believed I deserved it, because I had felt the abundance of God before that. So then my mind got really small. My thoughts got really condensed into fear, and I lost. All of those forms had to go away because I had placed value in them. So I had to lose them to begin to remember what truly had value, which was the love of God in me, my wholeness. And then I began to give that to Ken. And even though I gave that to him, even though I gave him all my love and all my compassion and all my kindness, he couldn't see that. He couldn't accept it, so he went away. And it's okay, because it left me giving love, and I could feel more coming my way. It's just so beautiful to know that I trust that I give and I receive. The name of God is on our lips. And as we look within, we see the purity of heaven shine in our reflection of our Father's love. Beautiful. I know that what is me is my Father's love. All that I am is the energy of love. That's all that I have to extend. And valuing that over everything else is where I find my peace. Paragraph 11. Now are we blessed, and now we bless the world. What we have looked upon, we would extend, for we would see it everywhere. Yep, I want love and peace everywhere, so I extend it wherever I go. We would behold it shining with the grace of God in everyone. Yes, Ken has it. He may not remember he has it, but I know he has it, so I have to see him as the presence of love. We would not have it be withheld from anything we look upon. No, because if I withhold it, I'm in lack, I'm in sacrifice, I'm in scarcity, I'm in suffering, I'm creating more of those thoughts, because giving and receiving are one. Whether I give thoughts of abundance or I give thoughts of lack, I'm going to be the one experiencing it. And I've gotten really clear. I only like to feel good. And feeling good is to extend the God that is in me. And what is God? God is love. We would not have it be withheld from anything we look upon. And to ensure this holy sight is ours, we offer it to everything we see. Why? Because God is in everything we see. So I'm going to see God in everything. I'm going to give love to all that I see that is God. For where we see it, it will be returned to us in form of lilies we can lay upon our altar, making it a home for innocence itself. Lilies are a representation of white flowers, white holiness, innocence. So as I see you as innocent, as a loving being, I have just placed that in my altar, because as I give you the acknowledgement of your innocence, your mind may be corrupted, but who you are, the presence of holiness that you are, is innocent and never did anything. That's why God forgives us. If God can forgive you, so can I. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I can judge you and God can forgive you. No way. I can't do that. So let me read this again. Sentence number 6, and this is in the final paragraph, which is 11. For where we see it, it will be returned to us in form of lilies we can lay upon our altar, making it a home for innocence itself. who dwells in us and offers us his holiness as ours. When I see your innocence, it's because it's coming from the innocence in me. Because if I love you, it's because it's coming from the love that is unconditional in me. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next lesson.